We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them. But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. 1983. Photographer unknown. Presumed dead. One of two recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze. Notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Deformity cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. 1986. Photographer Mary Thomas. Missing since June 13th, 1986. Body of missing child recovered 5 months after Sterling City Library disappearance. AP, Kingston Falls. Slain toddler Joseph Pertman was discovered yesterday in the Great Swamp Nature Preserve, where passing hunters noticed his body in an unlikely hiding spot. Though Joseph, along with 13 other children, had vanished over 5 months ago, his body was recovered in early stages of decay, suggesting he was alive until very recently, said Deputy Sheriff Jim Stoles. Stoles told the Associated Press that the body was found in a state of bizarre contortion, although the cause of death is pending investigation. Coroner Patricia Clark did not provide comment. Sterling City Post. Police have few leads in missing girl case. Article by Will Higgins. Posted June 15th, 1987. Sterling City, California. A spokesman for the Sterling City Police Department admitted this week that there was no promising leads in the case of 8-year-old Katrina Elkins, who went missing from her home Thursday night. "It's like she disappeared into thin air," said neighbor and family friend Maribeth Carousel. Police were called to the residence at 6:30 a.m. on Friday morning by Katrina's father, David. He realized that Katrina was missing when he went into her bedroom to wake her for school and discovered that she was not in her bed. The only possible witness was the victim's sister, 10-year-old Alice, with whom Katrina shares a bedroom. Alice has been unable to provide many details to investigators, however. "It seems that the girl suffers from an overactive imagination," SCPD Sergeant William Hone said. "She told us the last time she saw her sister was through the window where she was hugging the tall man." According to witness statements, over the past several weeks, a man had been coming to the girl's bedroom window at night, where he would tap on the glass, make faces, and watch the girls. Police investigators initially dismissed the account as a dream, as the bedroom window is on the second story, with no support beneath it. Alice Elkins reported that, on the night of her sister's disappearance, they were again awakened by a tapping at the glass, Sergeant Hone explained. "She heard her sister get out of the bed and have a short conversation. When she didn't hear her sister get back in bed after several minutes, she got up and went to the window, where she saw her sister in the side yard, hugging the tall man. According to the witness, the man looked up at her, grinned, and indicated that she was to come down as well with a snaky arm. It was at this point that Miss Elkins became extremely frightened and returned to bed. The tapping continued for some minutes, but finally ceased. Police scorned the Elkins yard for clues, with no success. When asked why Alice had not told her parents about the tall man before, she explained, "He scared me. He told us to not tell Mom and Dad or we'd be in trouble. He told us that he was our friend and that he would give us anything we wanted, but we had to keep his secret. His smile was scary, and his voice, he said nice things, but he sounded mean." Police believe that there is no link between the disappearance and the vicious killing of the Elkins cat by disembowelment in April. Sterling City Post. Rash of animal mutilations blamed on coyotes. By Tom Chisholm. Posted April 21st, 1987. Sterling City, California. A rash of pet deaths in northern Sterling City over the past several weeks has been blamed on coyotes, according to the Butte County Animal Control Department. After a particularly harsh winter, food supplies may be low, forcing wild animals to venture into town in search of prey, Animal Control Officer Joel Driscoll said. As many as 9 dogs and cats have gone missing since January and have been found in various states of decay. Many of the pets were disemboweled or otherwise seriously mutilated. It was unusual, I'll admit, Driscoll said in an interview. The wounds were unusually precise, and it's rare that a wild animal would leave so much of the carcass uneaten. My daughters are extremely upset by this, said David Elkins, owner of the most recent victim. They're 10 and 8, and don't fully understand what's happened to him. July 15th, 1993. Responding to a missing 16-year-old in Lake Oroville State Recreation Park, California. Officer Jackson questioning missing girl's friend, Crystal Marie Parkreiner. Please state your name and age. I already told you. Please. Crystal Marie Parkreiner, 16 years old. Why aren't you out there looking for Alice? Ma'am, please calm down. We are looking for her. We just need to hear your story to maybe better help us find out what happened. What is your relationship to Miss Elkins? She was my friend. What were you and her doing in the park? We were doing a late 16th birthday party. Her parents flaked out on her since America's Most Wanted ran that story about her sister again. Her sister? Yeah. A couple years ago, her sister was kidnapped. You know, Katrina Elkins. Was Alice upset, or maybe suicidal? She wouldn't do that. Okay. Tell me what happened. So, Donnie Parkreiner, my brother, Sally Danes and Richie Farms decided to take Alice to have a birthday party, since her parents have been putting off doing anything for Alice. So we got some things and decided to have a camp party. What things did you bring with you for this party? Beer, food, cigs, any drugs? No. Okay, go on. We got there like 7 p.m., so we were setting up the tent and stuff. Alice seemed okay. Was she drinking? No, she didn't drink. She was looking at the lake for a while. It was like 9 p.m. when Alice started acting strange. How? She got quiet, kept looking out at the woods. Then she started walking into the darkness. Did any of you follow her? I did, but it was like she was listening to someone else. Like she was listening to directions by someone. I couldn't follow her. Donnie got a flashlight and we went on. We started finding her clothes on the ground, but we couldn't find her. Please find her. She's out there missing and maybe hurt. We're looking for her. 0300. Received word from police in that a Type S phenomenon may be taking place, or have recently taken place, with 2 local children. Officers sent to the site have disappeared. Dispatching a unit. 0330. Confirmed 3 local men missing with possible dismemberment. Type S, typical. 0430. Father and mother of 2 missing children, Cynthia, female, 6, and Junior, male, 3, are in interrogation. Names Damien and Melanie Foulmouth. Damien Foulmouth is having typical Type S reaction. Melanie Foulmouth is mute. Full profiles and reports to follow in Appendix A. 0443. Type S fog found at the site. Perimeter adjusted to ensure safety of all unit members. 0454. D. Foulmouth has disappeared from holding cell. No signs of forced entry or exit. Typical of Type S. M. Foulmouth has gouged eyes out with fingernails and remains mute. Extraction orders have been placed for M. Foulmouth from local police to Institute. 0500. No further changes at site beyond constant expansion of parameter. 0600. No further changes. 0613. M. Foulmouth has been successfully transported to and admitted under Type S protocols. Highest security. Admittance papers attached can be found in Appendix B. Of note, doctors surprised at her ocular wounds. They appear to be completely healed, with no tissue remaining. Full search of ambulance and cell provide no location of the missing tissue. Update from police station confirms that she was found bleeding, but there was no tissue found under any of her fingernails. Consistent with the Type S phenomenon. Currently, M. Foulmouth is under sedation and constant heavy observation in all forms. Remote retrieval team on standby near both site and the institution to retrieve all information in the event that all personnel are corrupted. 0756. Phenomenon sighted. Shots fired before losing contact with Alpha Team of unit. Reinforcements dispatched. Perimeter of this event is largest of any previously recorded Type S phenomenon. 0804. Power outage at the Institute. M. Foulmouth has disappeared and has been replaced with a young girl. Despite several backup sources of power, this event was not recorded in any way. All 3 monitors of M. Foulmouth's cell have been placed in quarantine under observation. 0835. Young girl positively identified as Katrina Elkins, age 8, victim 23 of 1987. See Appendix B for all case files related to Katrina Elkins and her current status. Note, she appears to still be 8 years old and healthy, with no obvious wounds. 0848. Examining physician discovered a long scar across Elkins' abdomen, from her mons to her sternum. The physician, Dr. indicated that the scar was barely healed and that her belly was slightly distended. The doctor stated that her internal organs appeared and felt as if they were writhing. Upon further inspection, they did not appear to be internal organs at all. This information has been withheld from the child, and she still appears to be in good spirits. She asks after her mother and father, and sister. Orders have been given to examine her as quickly as possible, and to quarantine everyone with whom she had come in contact. 0900. Perimeter has stopped expanding, and fog appears to be dissipating. At 0930, teams will proceed inward toward the site. 0926. Information transmission to remote retrieval unit was temporarily interrupted, but resumed without incident. 0928. Transmission has been contaminated. Dr. and his unit have been completely compromised, and the Institute does not respond to all communication. Retrieval team continues to receive the transmission of the EKG and ultrasound that was being performed on K. Elkins. 0930. Unit moving inward towards site. 0934. Transmissions have gone dead, but not before we got some very interesting readings. Please see Appendix C for readings, as we believe these readings do not belong to K. Elkins. 1000. Unit reports that the site has only police officers, disemboweled in standard Type S fashion. All evidence has been gathered and is ready for transport. 1015. Local police have been informed of the status of their officers and that the site is now clean. Site will be revisited. 1030. Retrieval unit found Institute empty of all human life. All 308 workers at the Institute have disappeared. We can only assume the site has been contaminated. On the doorstep, the team found one left hand and the 5th digit from another hand. 1043. Fingerprinting and staff records confirm that both hand and digit belong to Dr. The severed ends appeared to be healed over. 1100. No changes. Retrieval unit continues to search the Institute. 1200. No changes. 1300. No changes. 1400. No changes. 1500. The pipes in Institute appear to have been frozen. They are currently thawing. 1534. Further inspection of the frozen pipes indicates that they are full of a mixture of both ice and frozen blood. Specimens are being taken for DNA identification against both staff and victim records. 1600. No changes. 1700. No changes. Search complete. No other anomalies found in the Institute. Equipment appears to be intact and will be moved to Amendment December 23, 2003. A man was found wandering behind a supermarket. Police fingerprinting confirmed this man as Dr. A unit was dispatched, but no Type S phenomenon indicators occurred. The team escorted Dr. to. He did not respond to questioning. In his pockets was found a receipt dated January 4th, 2004 at 0834 from see Appendix D for items in analysis. Note: we assume this is from a faulty cash register, but we are planning a team at this time and date regardless. He has been quarantined and will be studied. We have never retrieved a human being alive. Despite his clear mental incapacity, his body must turn up some clues. Amendment December 28th, 2003. Despite all testing, Dr. appears completely normal and healthy. He has gone completely mute, besides muttering in an unknown language. We have sent samples of these mumblings to linguistic experts. No one has been able to identify the language. Of note is his giggle, which sounds remarkably typical of S. Amendment January 4th, 2004. At 0834, Dr. died of severe internal hemorrhaging. The cause of this is unknown. The autopsy showed that there was a finger belonging to K. Elkins next to his appendix. The finger appeared to be healed over at the severed end, and proved to have a pulse for a few minutes after removal from the body. It did not respond to stimulus. Why we did not see this finger in the daily tests cannot be known. No event occurred at the site, indicated in the receipt. End of record. (5/24/95). 1994. Wilkes Estate. One subject reported nothing out of the ordinary before taking a photograph. Lower stairs area was said to be very dark. Subject states that after the camera flash, she heard a sound like a watermelon being 5/25/93. Subject unable to recall events after manor power failure. unable to question other two identified subjects. Camera and film acquired from Gloria Creedy, current resident of Woodview Mental Hospital and Psychological Rehabilitation Clinic. Film mostly uncontaminated, despite massive blood and human tissue present on camera. No positive ID on anomalous, tall, and slender subject. Facial blur caused by possible contamination. 6/7/93. Early digital analysis indicates tall subject may have no eyes. Anomalies, previously thought to be film errors and flash artifacts, now thought to be appendages. 6/10/93. Final identified subject reported missing along with other 33 patients and staff of Woodview Mental Hospital and Psychological Rehabilitation Clinic, South Wing. 6/18/93. Further inquiry to cease immediately. Local boy disappears. A missing 8-year-old boy, Jake Greenwood of Wichita, Kansas, has his neighborhood in an uproar. The boy went missing from his backyard around approximately 5:20 p.m. on Sunday the 19th of May. His mother reported seeing him playing near the trees of his backyard prior to his disappearance, and noticed nothing suspicious. School officials state that in the weeks leading up to his disappearance, that he had been irritable at school and at home, often complaining of a tall, very thin man in all black. Police declined to comment at this time.
Alert! Alert! Deployment request! Anti-S Walker units deployed to Wichita, Kansas.
I've been seriously debating sharing these, but after Victor Surge's posts, I feel I have to. This first photo was given to me by my uncle, a police officer who was part of the investigation trying to find 9 missing teens who had gone missing in the local mountains 6 years ago. It was developed from a disposable camera found at the campsite. None of the missing teens have ever been found, and all of their possessions were still at the campsite. He was pretty drunk and shaken up when he gave me this, and made me promise I'd never show anyone else. The second photo is of an elementary school fire in 1978. No official cause was ever found. 7 students and a teacher became trapped and died before firefighters could respond. Many of the students and teachers from the time have a history of anxiety disorders and panic attacks, even those who weren't at the school on that day. At least one has since committed suicide, and several others legally changed their names once they reached adulthood and have disappeared. Please continue, and see if you can find the original case file as well. He reminds me of something similar that happened in 1950. I was just looking through some old pictures my grandpa left behind. He was quite a photographer back in his day, at least before he went crazy. This picture was kinda weird, though. It's all out of focus, like he wasn't really paying attention to what he was doing. Almost like he'd been distracted by something. I thought you might want to see it. July 13th, 1988. The body of Hillary Foster, age 32, was found high in the branches of a tree in an Oregon state park near Monmouth. Her body was described as twisted. Hillary's camera, found hanging around her neck, contained the above picture. It was the last taken before her death. According to her husband, Hillary took their daughter Stephanie and 2 friends to the state park for an afternoon of fun on the river. The 3 girls, Stephanie Foster, Jill Baker, and Amanda Harwood, are still missing. In 1987, a camera was discovered with a full roll of film in a wooded area just outside a Richmond, Virginia suburb. All the film was developed, but only one picture, seen here, survived the lab process. Parapsychologists have suggested that it may be a particularly powerful Slender Man manifestation. The four-armed figure exhibits a strong background aura. Local police investigators have spent decades searching fruitlessly for the camera's owner, even checking missing persons reports. To this day, the identity and whereabouts of the photographer are unknown. I did not create this image. This is an actual photo of a Slender Man-like creature caught out in the open. We found him in Lahaska, Pennsylvania. These two photos were taken in 2005. Luckily for Lahaska, no children came up missing. I suppose he was just passing through, perhaps on a mission of some sort. We did not feel too threatened as we were able to come a bit closer from behind and snap the close-up photo. May 26th, 1998. Boy missing in Centralia, Illinois. Joshua Baxter, 12, was reported missing from his bed on the morning of May 26th. He was last seen the previous night by his mother, Laura Baxter. The boy is Caucasian, has short brown hair, and wore red and white striped pajamas at the time of his disappearance. Laura Baxter explained that since moving into the house 1 week earlier, on May 18th, the boy had repeatedly complained about waking during the night from an unbearable, freezing cold. Otherwise, there is no indication the boy would have voluntarily left his room. An unidentified man was recorded in a photograph taken by Joshua Baxter's father, John Baxter, on the evening of May 22nd. The photo was taken for personal use, as part of documenting the renovation of the basement in the house. John Baxter claims not to have noticed the man when he made the photograph, explaining that he was in a hurry to get back out of the cold. The police are interested in any information that can lead to the identification of the unknown man, who appears in the photo to be tall and slender, wearing a black suit with a pale complexion. The following photograph was found in the attic of a recently deceased man from Long Island. The 93-year-old man, who died in his own home whilst asleep, had previously worked in the New York financial industry before retiring in the late 70s due to health reasons. The photograph was discovered by his relatives, who were reorganizing the many possessions he had accumulated in his attic throughout the course of his life. The unnamed folder in which the photo was contained had been buried at the bottom of a full chest of documents, all of which were unrelated to the photograph itself. The untitled folder was empty, save for this photograph. It is unknown whether the photo was taken by the deceased man himself, or if it was accumulated by him at another point in his life. The photograph is marked on the rear with the letter X. It is unclear why one of the children's faces has been scored out by the owner. I found this in my grandmother's basement and had to scan it as soon as I could. Perhaps this explains her night terrors. What happened, Grandma? If only you still had a tongue with which to speak or fingers to write. Both subjects were hunting in the Steinman Woods 4 hours before sundown. Surviving subject states that while hunting, both men grew uneasy as fog levels rapidly increased. A constant murmuring sound accompanied by a low hum eventually became apparent to the two men an hour after the fog increased. An object falling out of a tree struck one of the men in the left shoulder, causing him to discharge his weapon. object said to be the body of a man of unknown age. It was very precisely dissected, with major internal organs still contained within the rib cage in what looked to be clear bags. Surviving subject placed organ bag within backpack. Attack followed several minutes later after a low children's laugh, like a giggle. Surviving subject ran until he reached his vehicle. Subject then drove to assumed safety. Backpack destroyed. Surviving subject is classified as a B7 witness. B7 witness to be placed in quarantine, blind box, until resolution. 2007. Investigation team discovered 22 bodies of both genders and various ages impaled on broken tree branches in a radiating circle pattern, with chest mutilation as often noted with Slender Man. Upon confirmation, lead investigator called for an immediate evacuation of investigation team at 1700 hours. Bodies first discovered at 1100 hours. Deadline for safe evacuation of team with only viewed physical evidence of Slender Man, approximately 1730 hours. Lost contact of team at 1725 hours. Safety procedures fell well within established protocols. Reason for abnormality is unknown. Second team recovered camera equipment 1 week later. Slender Man safety procedures require this incident's physical photographic evidence to be disposed of by no later than 10:20. I honestly don't get what half this shit means. I'm done with the Slender Man stuff. It's starting to make me uneasy. It's like reading the GBS ghost story threads before I go to bed. Why do I have to look at this stuff while it's super late? Luckily, my friend is coming over. My friend is here, just came in, barely made it upstairs, got picture locked door, but it's right there in the hall. Don't look at its pictures, it doesn't want to be known about. Don't look! When you posted the part about the chest injuries, it reminded me of the Diet Love Pass incident that was posted in the Unsolved Mysteries thread. Wikipedia posted, both Dubinina and Zolotaryov had major chest fractures. The force required to cause such damage would have been extremely high, with one expert comparing it to the force of a car crash. Notably, the bodies had no external wounds, as if they were crippled by a high level of pressure. One woman was found to be missing her tongue. After looking a little further, I found this picture, taken a day before the incident. This may or may not be related to the Slender Man mythos. Robert Wadlow, the tallest human being of all time, was 8'11" when he died. The cause of death was listed as an infection from a blister on his ankle caused by a faulty brace, but his death certificate described the wound as a puncture or bite mark of unknown origin. He was buried in a half-ton coffin that required 12 pallbearers to carry, which was interred within a vault of solid concrete. It was believed that Wadlow's family were concerned for the sanctity of his body after his death, and went to these lengths of security to ensure it would never be disturbed or stolen. It was rumored that these extreme burial measures were really undertaken so that no one could see the mysterious changes that started to occur to Wadlow's body after his demise. The inexplicable lengthening and splitting of the arms, the bizarre contortion of the facial features. Perhaps the half-ton coffin and concrete vault were not to preserve the sanctity of the body, but to keep something from escaping. I was looking on Wikipedia to see if I could find more info on the Slender Man, and wasn't surprised to draw a big goose egg. So, while nosing around lists for unexplained or paranormal events for instances in the past that might have been misidentified, I ran across this gem. Perhaps the most famous sighting is reported to have taken place on October 11th, 1966, in Elizabeth, New Jersey. The entity was sighted by two boys, James Yanktidis and Marvin Munoz, as they were walking home along 4th Street and New Jersey Street when they reached a corner parallel to the New Jersey Turnpike. The turnpike is elevated, and there is an extremely steep incline going down from the busy street above, which leads to 4th Street. A very large, high-wire fence runs along the edge of the other street below where the boys were walking, making it incredibly difficult to near impossible for anyone to want to climb up the incline to the turnpike above. There are bright street lights in that area, which gave the boys a good glimpse of what they called the strangest guy we've ever seen. The Yankees noticed the strange entity first. "He was standing behind that fence," he stated later to investigators. "I don't know how he got there. He was the biggest man I ever saw. Jimmy nudged me," Marvin Munoz reported to police, "and said, 'Who's that guy standing behind you?' I looked around and there he was, behind that fence, just standing there. He pivoted around and looked right at us. Then he grinned a big old grin." There had been recent reported incidents of violence in the nearby neighborhood, such as a middle resident being chased by a tall man down that same street and on the same night, so the boys fled quickly. Well-known author, paranormal investigator, and journalist John A. Keel visited the two boys in Elizabeth, New Jersey, 3 days after the incident. Along with Keel came UFO lecturer James Moseley. Munoz and Yankees were interviewed by Keel separately in the home of Mr. George Smith, and both boys told the exact same story. The man was over 6 feet tall, they agreed, and was dressed in a black business suit that seemed to absorb the streetlights. The boys also said he had a very pale complexion and little round eyes, real beady, set far apart. The most frightening and bizarre aspect of the encounter is the fact that they could not remember seeing any hair, ears, or nose on this figure. Looks like Muhammad was onto something. This is interesting. Could it be that we'd been warned about this tall, thin specter and we misunderstood/misinterpreted the warnings? A few examples. Nostradamus. 9 years the lean one will hold the realm in peace. Then he will fall into a very bloody thirst. Because of him, a great people will die without faith and law, killed by one far more good-natured. Beneath the holy earth of a soul the faint voice heard, human flames seen to shine as divine. It will cause the earth to be stained with the blood of the monks, and to destroy the holy temples for the impure ones. Lofty bodies endlessly visible to the eye, through these reasons they will come to obscure. Body, forehead included, sense and head invisible, diminishing the sacred prayers. The new empire in desolation will be changed from the northern pole. From Sicily will come such trouble that it will bother the enterprise tributary to Philip. Thin, tall, and dry, playing the good valet, in the end will have nothing but his dismissal. Sharp poison and letters in his collar, he will be seized escaping into danger. 605, 606, and 7, it will show us up to the year 17, the anger, hatred, and jealousy of the incendiary. For a long enough time hidden under the olive tree, the crocodile has hidden on the land, that which was dead will then be alive. He who several times has held the cage and then the woods, he will return to the first state, his life safe shortly afterwards to depart, still not knowing how to know. He will look for a subject in order to die. The westward expansion of the U.S. during the 1800s was a time of great difficulty for many. Seeking fortune, or perhaps only adventure, families packed up their belongings in covered wagons and began the arduous journey westward. Many families never made it. Some succumbed to bacterial infections, or were victims of attacks by natives, or were robbed and killed by other, more unscrupulous travelers. It was common in those times for people to die from exposure to the elements, starvation, and any number of other causes. Isn't this how Slender Man replicates himself? Very few details are known about the life of Adam Rayner, but in a way, he represents an extraordinary piece of medical history. He was born in Graz, Austria in 1899, and as he grew and matured, it became evident that his stature was significantly shorter than the average man. He was classified as a dwarf, standing only 3 feet 10.5 inches, 1.18 meters, in 1920, his 21st year. But in his early 20s, Adam's height suddenly began to increase at an astonishing rate, and without any signs of stopping. By his 32nd birthday, his unusually short stature of under 4 feet was increased to an unusually tall stature of just under 7 feet 2 inches, or 2.18 meters. This incredible sustained rate of growth, about 3.6 inches per year, exhausted his body and left him bedridden. It seems likely that the secretions of the poor chap's pituitary gland, the gland responsible for the body's growth hormones, went from a trickle to a flood shortly after his 21st birthday. The malfunctioning organ caused his body to devote all of its resources to unchecked growth, leaving him weak and unable to stand. He lived in this unfortunate condition until he died on March 4th, 1950, aged 51. At the time of his death, he was measured at 7 feet 8 inches tall, or 2.34 meters, twice the height he had been at age 21. Adam was the only person in medical history to have been classified both as a dwarf and a giant.
For my thesis, I've been given access to a pretty big photography archive. My subject is to do with riots, so I've been looking at thousands of these photos for the last few weeks. Here are a few that stuck out a little. I'll leave you to judge for yourself. Munich, 1976. Jerusalem, 1982. Ukraine, 1992. The last one is perhaps the most interesting, but unfortunately that's the highest quality version available. Each of these instances were noted as having fog roll in unexpectedly during the course of the riot, which, combined with tear gas being used by police, left many areas with virtually no visibility. In the Ukraine, the fog only lasted for 2 hours, a northeasterly wind causing it to clear rather suddenly. Several deaths and missing persons at each event were blamed on the police, but few, if any, charges were filed.
I've been lurking this thread for weeks, and I want to commend everyone for their detective work. I found an article recently about one of my favorite bands, but something about it is bothering me. Here's the article, unedited, with the pictures included. Led Zeppelin, the biggest band in the world, or such was their moniker in the mid to late 70s, setting airplay records with their hit Stairway to Heaven and breaking concert attendance and grossing records during their American tours of 1975 and 1977. No band could compete with the unstoppable whirlwind force that was Led Zeppelin. They created the modern-day image of a rock star, a cocaine-thin musician with long, scraggly hair, forcing groupies to bathe with octopi, embodying the essence of raw sexuality, financial excess, and supernatural mysticism. In 1971, Led Zeppelin recorded their untitled fourth album at Headley Grange Studios, a poorhouse converted into a studio that guitarist Jimmy Page had always insisted was haunted. The third track from the album was The Battle of Evermore, the only track in their catalog to feature a guest singer, in this case folk singer Sandy Denny. 7 years later, Denny's life was cut short by what doctors ruled as a brain hemorrhage. A month prior to her death, Denny would often collapse from severe headache and hallucinations, which were attributed to a fall down a flight of stairs she suffered in May of 1978. This is the only readily available image of Denny with Led Zeppelin. The photographer is unknown. In 1977, as Led Zeppelin embarked on their tour of the United States, Jimmy Page's interest in the occult and addiction to heroin were at their peak. His playing was spotty at times, his weight had dropped considerably, and his focus was clearly elsewhere. His delving into the supernatural spirits made him lose sight of the goal of the band, with Zeppelin's lights manager later remarking that singer Robert Plant would often have to snap Page out of his between-song trances, with Page not remembering how their own tunes went. Page also grew increasingly paranoid in an infamous incident prior to an interview with Cameron Crowe, where he ripped a phone out of the wall because he felt that someone was spying on him. It was as if a force he tapped into was corrupting him. The tour came to an abrupt end when Robert Plant's son, Carrick, died suddenly on June 24th, 1977. It became apparent that the band was too big to be defeated. In spite of the aforementioned deaths associated with Zeppelin, the band just could not be taken down. Plant survived a horrific car crash in Greece in 1975, and Page managed to recover from his addiction to heroin despite weighing less than 100 pounds on the 1977 tour. In 1979, however, the band was starting to become old news. Punk had swept the nation, and its contemporaries regarded Zeppelin as behind the times and out of date. In 1980, the band embarked on a short tour through Germany and its neighboring regions, with a much scaled-down magnitude compared to their previous tours. The tour received very little press attention, and the band played much smaller venues than the stadiums they played 3 years earlier. Drummer John Bonham died in September and was ruled to have asphyxiated on his own vomit. Bassist John Paul Jones remarked that he seemed to be drinking compulsively that day, as if to forget something. Many remarked that Page's interest in the occult was abnormal, but some would later argue it had caused the crash of the Led Zeppelin. I've been following the signs for quite some time. There are woodcuts dated back to the 16th century in Germany, featuring a tall, disfigured man with only white spheres where his eyes should be. They called him Der Grobman, the Tall Man. He was a fairy who lived in the Black Forest. Bad children who crept into the woods at night would be chased by the Slender Man, and he wouldn't leave them alone until he caught them, or the child told the parents what he or she had done. Even then, there is this chilling account from an old journal dating around 1702. Translated from German, some words may be inaccurate. My child, my Lars, he is gone, taken from his bed. The only thing that we found was a scrap of black clothing. It feels like cotton, but it is softer, thicker. Lars came into my bedroom yesterday, screaming at the top of his lungs that the angel is outside. I asked him what he was talking about, and he told me some nonsense fairy story about Der Grobman. He said he went into the groves by our village and found one of my cows dead, hanging from a tree. I thought nothing of it at first, but now he is gone. We must find Lars, and my family must leave before we are killed. I am sorry, my son. I should have listened. May God forgive me. There is more evidence of the Slender Man, but this is one of the oldest translatable accounts. Anyone else in the thread found anything like this? From Brandenburg, circa 1550. I know of an old Romanian fairy tale, highly unpopular even in its earliest iterations. It might be based on a particular event, or perhaps it is an extrapolation from existing Slender Man stories. The translation I'm most familiar with goes a bit like this. Once upon a time, there were twin girls, Stella and Serena. They were brave little girls, and had no fear of the dark, nor of spiders and other crawling things.
Where other young ladies and even young boys would cower, Stella and Serena would walk with their heads held high. They were good girls, obedient to their mother and father and to the word of God. They were the best children a mother could ask for, and this was their undoing. One day, Stella and Serena were out with their mother gathering berries from the forest. Their mother bid them stay close to her, and they listened, as they were good children. The day was bright and clear, and even as they walked closer to the center of the forest, the light barely dimmed. It was nearly bright as noon when they found the tall man. The tall man stood in a clearing, dressed as a nobleman, all in black. Shadows lay over him, dark as a cloudy midnight. He had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, all sharp as swords, and they writhed like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. Their mother tried not to listen, but she could no more disobey the tall man than she could forget how to breathe. She walked into the clearing, her daughters shortly behind her. "Stella," she said, "take my knife and cut a circle on the ground big enough to lie in." Stella, who was not afraid of the tall man, nor afraid of the quiver in her mother's voice, obeyed what her mother said. "Serena," the mother said, "take the berries and spread them in the circle, and crush them underfoot until the juice stains the earth." Though Serena wondered why her mother asked her to do such a thing, she obeyed, because she was a good girl. "Stella," the mother said, "lie in the circle." Stella, though she worried she might stain her clothes, did as her mother asked. "Serena," the mother said, and bid Serena cut her sister open with a knife. Serena could not, would not. "Please," her mother said. "If you don't, it will be worse, so much worse." But Serena could not, and she threw the knife away and ran home crying. She hid under her bed, afraid for the first time in her life. She waited until her father came home from the fields and told him of the terrible things she had found in the woods. Her father comforted her and told her she would be safe. He went to the woods, his axe in hand, and as he commanded, she stayed by the hearth, waiting for his return. After some time, she fell asleep. When she woke, it was to the sound of knocking on her door at the darkest hour of the night. "Who's there?" she said. "It is your father," the knocker said. "I don't believe you," said Serena. "It is your sister," the knocker said. "It cannot be," said Serena. "I am your mother," said the knocker. "And I told you it would be worse." And the door, locked tight before her father left, fell open as if it had been left ajar, and her mother stepped in, her sister's head clutched in one bloody hand, her father's in the other. "Why?" wept Serena. "Because," said her mother, "there is no reward for goodness. There is no respite for faith. There is nothing but cold steel teeth and scourging fire for all of us. And it's coming for you now." And the tall man slid from the fire and clenched Serena in his burning embrace. And that was the end of her. Schlankwald by Unknown. Translated poorly by James Rossi. They say that monsters come only at night, that light will drive them away. But not all creatures follow this rule. Safety not certain during the day. He hides on the fringes of your vision, brief glimpses of the distorted. He slithers and writhes behind your eyes, reaching for you, limbs contorted. Before you know it, your children are taken, and now it's come down to you. His breath is oppressive, his presence acidic, he feels pity, is undue.
Suddenly, trapped in his grasp so tight, you struggle to break yourself free. He laughs and he gurgles and he screeches with glee. He turns your head for you to see. Your children are crying, though their eyes are removed. They collapse still and silent. His arms and legs bend, pulling you closer, the man's eyes dark and violent. He strikes and he cuts, your skin flays open, your soul too weak to resist. This should not have happened if only you had listened. Never go into his forest. Photo: Henderson Horse Farm, 1954. Case: the Henderson family owned the farm and land since the mid-1800s. The owners were Ted Wilcox Henderson, age 41, Judy Henderson, wife, age 36, and Tracy Henderson, daughter, age 6. On the morning of June 15th, about 8 days after picture was taken, neighbors called the local police, complaining of screams and the sounds of gunfire. Sheriff Clint Denterman, age 54, and 2 deputies, Dan Parks, age 24, and Chris Fines, age 33, came to the farm at 8:34 a.m. The horses in the barn were torn apart, almost as if attacked by wild animals. Inside the main house, reports said that there was blood all over the living room, kitchen, and hallway. Ted was found in the bedroom, barricaded behind some furniture. Next to him was the body of his wife, killed by a shotgun blast to the chest. Ted still had the weapon in his hands. From Dan Park's report. Ted had a freaked-out, far-off look in his eyes. He seemed to not realize that we were in the room. We asked him what happened. Where was his daughter? But he didn't answer. Ted was charged with the murder of his wife. Due to his mental state, he was sent to Jenkins Mental Hospital. For almost a year and a half, Ted did not speak. On the 3rd anniversary of the murder, Dr. Doughton called the sheriff. Ted was speaking. From the recording of Dr. Doughton, June 15th, 1956, 8:30 p.m.
Okay, Ted. Go ahead.
It's on. Am I safe?
Yes, you are safe. Now tell me what happened that night.
The horses. Horses acting up. The horses.
Go on.
Went out there. Dead. All dead. Eyes. No eyes.
What did you see?
Ran inside. Got gun. Tracy crying. Judy screaming. Ran to them. He had them. Was holding them.
Who had them?
Skinny fella. Suit. Looking at me. Judy screaming. Shoot me. Shoot me! Shoot me! Ah! Ah! Ah!
You shot Judy.
Saved her. Saved her.
Did you shoot Tracy?
No. They went after me. They went after me. Shot them. Shot them. Keep shooting. Tracy. Let Tracy go. Damn it, let her go!
At this point, Ted started to have a yelling fit, suddenly slamming his face into the steel table. 2 orderlies grabbed Ted, and Dr. Doughton injected him with some tranquilizers. End of tape. Ted Henderson was found dead in his room at 3 a.m. on June 16th. Ted was somehow able to get out of his restraints and chew through his wrist, bleeding to death. The picture was studied several times. The experts agree that the man in the suit may be the one that Ted was saying attacked his farm and stole his child. Tracy Henderson was never found. At the permission of Faye Doughton, the doctor's daughter,
the recording of the interview with Mr. Henderson was released. I work in a radio newsroom, and I saw this come down a few months back. Didn't think much of it then, but all this Slender Man stuff made me think of it. I copy and pasted this from the Wire copy. Alta missing skiers, received February 12, 2009 at 7:49 p.m. Index, mountains, environment. 20-year-old skier found dead after month-long search. Jasper, Alta. The body of a 20-year-old woman has been found after a month-long search in the Rockies west of Jasper. RCMP and park officials confirmed the body to be that of a missing skier, Amanda Fisher, who has not been seen since leaving on a trip with 3 friends in early January. Her remains were discovered today by park officials. Reports suggest her body was found contorted and in an advanced state of decay, high in a tree. Investigators have refused to comment how her body could have been left in such a condition. On January 10th, Fisher, along with boyfriend Douglas Ballinger, 21, and friend Natasha Pierce, 20, left their cabin at Mica Mountains Resort. That was the last time they were seen alive. A second friend, 22-year-old Thomas Chambers, left them a day before the disappearance to return to Calgary, allegedly due to health concerns. He was questioned by RCMP 2 days after the other 3 were declared missing. During questioning, Chambers allegedly told officers that he had left the other 3 and returned home due to reoccurring night terrors, featuring a tall man in black peering in through his cabin's window. Investigators confirmed they had ruled Chambers out as a possible suspect, but considered him a key witness. A source within the RCMP, who spoke on condition of anonymity, revealed to the Calgary Sun that officers had confiscated a digital camera and a camcorder at the time of the interview, which were never returned. RCMP have been unable to question Chambers further, as he himself has been missing since January 21st. His home was found ransacked that morning, and he has not been seen since. The hunt continues for information or clues that could lead investigators to the location nor bodies of Ballinger, Pierce, and Chambers. Their disappearances are considered linked, but RCMP refused to comment further. From the Canadian Press. Eerie similarities. Or maybe there's something more going on here. I'll poke around and see if I can find other stories that might be linked to this. Man, if anyone could find copies of whatever was on the digital camera, or the camcorder that was confiscated, that would be pretty sweet. Think I may have found another Slender Man article. Now posting. Alta photo kidnapping. Received May 18th, 2009 at 11:15 a.m. Index, police, search. Search for missing Edmonton photographer widens. Edmonton, Alta. The RCMP is being called in to help with the ongoing investigation into the apparent kidnapping of an Edmonton photographer. On May 5th, the Edmonton Police Service received a call from a concerned neighbor, reporting strange noises coming from the home of Abigail Tuscone, 26. Officers attended the scene to discover signs of a struggle, but no sign of the young woman. Subsequent investigation led police to declare the situation a kidnapping. According to friends and family of Tuscone, the professional photographer had recently been concerned that she was being stalked by an unknown man. This had included a report filed with police a week before her disappearance. With few local leads, the EPS is now getting assistance from the Mounties, who intend to widen the search area through Alberta. Both organizations are still hopeful that Tuscone will be found alive. Abigail Tuscone is described as Caucasian, 5'6", and 168 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes. Based on Tuscone's description and a photograph found in her home, her alleged kidnapper is believed to be a Caucasian male, bald, standing 6 feet or higher. He was last seen wearing a black suit and tie. Police and RCMP are looking for any information or tips from the public about Tuscone and her apparent kidnapper. You can contact your local RCMP detachment, EPS, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. From the Canadian Press. Too many similarities to not be him. I couldn't find the picture she took of her alleged kidnapper. I don't suppose anyone else might be able to dig it up. May 7th, 1937. After several weeks of working up the nerve, I finally asked Mary's father for permission to ask for her hand in marriage. Mr. Doherty took me aside and told me, "Jeff, I've been wanting you to ask me this for quite some time now. I would be delighted to have you as my son-in-law. I know you will treat Mary every bit as well as she deserves." It was a little more businesslike than I would have liked, I suppose, but at the same time, I am as happy as I can ever recall being. Once Mary returns from her trip to Boston with her sister Samantha, I shall ask her at once. May 8th, 1937. I don't often write of my official duties in this journal, as I feel it would be unprofessional. However, today has been all too peculiar to leave out. A new patient was admitted today. He's a young man named Douglas Reynolds. Douglas was found wandering the streets of Northbridge barefoot and apparently unresponsive to all attempts of communication. The Northbridge police decided to take Douglas to the station and attempt to discern who he was. When the police tried to take him in, he lashed out screaming. An officer sustained minor injuries before he was ultimately subdued. In his pocket was a wallet containing identification stating his name and his address. Strangely, he lived in Charlton. Did he walk the 15 or so miles barefoot? In any case, what was he doing so far from home? All questions I'll have to ask him in the morning, I suppose. May 9th, 1937. Mary returns home tomorrow. I simply cannot wait to see her again. I've got the ring in its case next to the bed, and it seems to be calling out for her as much as I am. I shall await her at the train station and propose the instant she steps onto the platform. Some may feel it foolish for a doctor to allow his emotions to run so unchecked, but for Mary, I'd interrupt the Boston Pops for all to see. The only slight disappointment I have in my heart is that Douglas was unresponsive today. We have also been shipped a chest from Douglas's home. It appears to have been the only item of psychological interest in his house. Oddly, this old chest is covered in shipping labels. It seems that it was a box containing personal effects of Douglas's father who died in the Great War. It only just recently made its way to Massachusetts after years of misshipping. However, all that will have to wait until next Monday, as there are things far more important I have planned this week. May 10th, 1937. Mary said yes! May 12th, 1937. I wish I could write of the wonderful weekend I had, but what has just transpired today has really shaken me. It must be said or I will explode. Douglas Reynolds is dead. I had decided that first opportunity I had, I would visit Douglas and try to speak to him. It was late in the day when I finally found myself without a list of chores to perform. Douglas had been placed in a far cell of the C wing. Reserved for the comatose and the catatonic, the wing was silent. Dead silent. Although I could have fired a pistol without so much as a stir from the patients, I still felt the need to stay hushed. I reached Douglas's room and opened the door. I could not believe the sight presented before me. Douglas had somehow relieved himself of his restraints and was standing on his bed, frantically thrashing his arms against the walls of his room. The floor and walls were soaked in crimson and dark matter, spread in wavy swaths some strange symbol like a quadrupeded star or perhaps a four-legged octopus were repeated over and over. Douglas turned to me. His eyes were blood red, his face smeared in bodily fluids. He looked straight at me, his eyes fierce and piercing. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from the hall. Confused and scared, I ran out the door into the hall. As I did, the screams intensified.
Men who had not stirred for years joined the awful cacophony of horrified yells. They screamed, and it felt as if there was no end to them. Surely they must stop to breathe, I thought. Surely they would pass out and stop. Anything to end the horrid noise that emitted from the once silent cells. As I put my hands to my ears to shut out the choir of pain and terror, Douglas stumbled out of his cell. "He has followed! We are better to be dead! All better to be dead than his!" With that first and final proclamation, Douglas fell to the ground dead, and the screams stopped. I cannot describe what it is I feel at this moment after these events. I can only hope and pray that there will be some answers in the chest, because I am in need of answers more now than I have ever been.